That's right. Hopefully my mic was on for that weird laugh.
It was. You
Good.
hyena,
Great.
you.
Don't worry. Got it covered. All right, it is that time once again. Awesemo.com, PGA DFS, live before lock. I am Ben Rouslin. That is Eric Lindquist. I am back. Didn't do the show last week, probably for good reason, as we'll get to. But I am excited to dive into the 3M Open. Eric, I said this before the show. I genuinely feel like we've done this tournament before. Maybe it's because the Rocket Mortgage and this blend together, but do you feel that same way?
100% Grio, move on with our week?
It's like, it's all deja vu, right?
Okay. Yeah, no, I'm very excited to hear what you have to say about this. Again, this is up by my neck of the woods. I'm from Sioux Falls, South Dakota, Minneapolis, get up there quite a bit growing up. I'm a Minnesota sports fan, everything. Super cool. They have a golf tournament up there now. Only problem is I've never played it, never seen it. I just only know that Matt Wolff played really well there one time. And we're going to talk about him. We're going to talk about all the usual suspects that we normally do in these, diminished field events? Can I call it something like that? Is that the right way to put it?
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, you got the Olympics next week. You've got the British Open last week. It's a tough sell. I actually was impressed with the field. I thought that was not the worst that I've ever seen, to be honest. Yeah. So we do have some to break down. But before we do that, our friends at Monkey Knife Fight, as you guys know, and if you don't, even more important to listen to this, different type of wagering going on over there. Player prop based contest, easy to play, not a huge time commitment. And it's not to say you can't play DraftKings, FanDuel. It can be an addition. It's not a huge time commitment. It's one of my favorite things about Monkey Knife Fight. You head over there, you go to monkeyknifefight.com, you choose your buy-in level, you choose your sport, all the regular things from NBA, UFC, PGA, esports, soccer. And when you go over there, promo code Awesemo, you're going to get an instant first match deposit bonus up to $100. So that's something I really recommend doing. It can be a nice little bankroll boost, if nothing else. But when we look at this tournament, I was stunned. I'm going to get right to it. I can't believe Louis is here. I really thought he would withdraw after burning an edge once again in another major.
Did you see my tweet before the show?
I did not.
Okay, so basically PGA, they ended up putting Louis on the front page, and whoever writes the little blurbs for the PGAtour.com, where it's just like the little front of the section, what they put by the picture, I don't think that guy understands how much power he has over me. It literally just says, Oosthuizen motivated at 3M Open. And after that, I was like, whoa. Time to increase shares to my boy, because I absolutely love Louis. It was another close call here. I keep betting him. I keep losing betting him, but what are you going to do? I mean, he's just the best putter on planet Earth. This is going to be a pseudo putting contest. So why wouldn't we have shares of Louis this week?
So you're making, listen, everything you just said is true. Louis is the best putter in the world right now. I just am, again, I'm really surprised, that I don't want to say I thought he was going to be unpopular, because he's playing great golf and he's very, very expensive. I didn't think he'd be this popular. He is amongst the most popular plays on the slate right now. And I do think that there is some fatigue. I'm not saying Louis is going to withdraw. We all know about the Louis, some seemingly random withdrawals. I'm not saying that, but I am saying that, to me, and when we look at that, I was surprised that he decided to play. We saw some other guys not come here, but he's here, and by all indications, he should be ready to go.
Yeah, I'm going to just play him here. I don't know what else to do now. As you said, I didn't really necessarily expect him to be playing here either, but when somebody's in the field like this is kind of like a Koepka, like a little bit of a Koepka situation. We did cover this golf tournament. It was just the Travelers Championship, I think, with Brooks Koepka or something to that sort, where what's his motivation going to be here? And if you look around the industry, there's people who are all about him, people who aren't for him. I'm not really sure what to make of it. All I know is that we've seen some phenomenal form out of him. Why don't we just kind of keep riding that while we can? I have no problem playing Louis, the best putter on planet Earth right now. I will also say, before we get to anything else, one, it's nice to have the regular time, see some of the regular usuals back in the chat here. This is like, it's strange that this hasn't happened sooner, but I absolutely love that we're back to the regular time. And number two, has there ever been a playoff that could possibly tilt me more than what we just had in Kentucky between Seamus Power and JT Poston, I literally wanted to die. I just wanted to die last week.
It wasn't good. Yeah, I was in Saratoga. I was licking my British Open wounds because I read that tournament completely wrong. I thought it was going to be windy. Many, many mistakes. Come back, and then I didn't cash in on Seamus, who you and me and a lot of people have been playing. He's been playing phenomenal, and that was really disappointing. But we're going to talk about Barbasol a pretty good amount tonight because a lot of guys went there and got right potentially, and that's one of the situations. Before we do that, though, is there anything – to me, you know, the Open Championship is the utmost weather-driven event. To me, I don't see anything here in terms of waves or weather.
No, it's the prototypical thing where morning looks like it's around 4 to 6, and then the afternoon's around 10 to 12, and that's going to be what it is. It seems like it's going to be a fair draw. The one thing I might say, and I brought this up the other day too, or a couple tournaments ago would have been, it's going to be like mid 80s. It's going to be like 94, 95 degrees on Friday. Perhaps in the morning, if the ball's flying a little bit further there, if you still have some precipitation there, you could just see some guys go really low Friday morning comparatively to Thursday morning slightly, but it is so negligible. All these guys are, I mean, this golf course doesn't seem like it provides a whole lot of defense outside of just water in random spots up and down the golf course. But yeah, I don't see anything. I'm just trying to create a narrative that you could maybe look at for the weather.
This course, let's talk about it. TPC Twin Cities. I don't know, man. So it's a weird situation. I want to talk through with you about this because it's got elements of Florida courses. I see Sawgrass. I see PGA National. But it's not difficult. If you don't hit it in the water, and there's water all over this course, you're going to make a lot of birdies. And that's why we see a lot of guys make like 20 plus birdies and they have 2 doubles on the week, something like that. That is a unique situation. So when you see something like that, do you just look at birdie or better percentage and you say, you know what, if my guy has a blow up hole, I have to live with it? Or is there something that you take from the Florida swing to incorporate here?
No, because I think in Florida, you're seeing much narrower fairways than it looks like we have here. I think the width of the fairways, you have to kind of hit it pretty errant on a couple of these drives. I think in Florida, you're definitely threading the needle a little bit more than you are on this golf course. You aren't dealing with some of the tough Bermuda stuff. Around the green doesn't really matter here so much. I think the Bermuda in Florida might make that a little bit more. You have to be a little bit more precise with your wedges, with your shots around the green here. I don't really see that on this golf course either. Yeah, I really think that it's going to be, if you, maybe some of these longer guys like Bubba Watson, we'll just bring him up as an example. So he's a guy who hits an absolute mile. When you hit it far, you also tend to miss it a little bit more offline. I'd say a guy like Bubba maybe has a larger opportunity than the rest of the field as somebody who can sling a driver and curves it 40 yards, or when he mishits it, goes off the map. Maybe he's a guy that could see a little bit more double bogey, triple bogey opportunities than other guys will, but I don't really see anything specifically here. Have you found anything that you're kind of like clinging on to in that regard?
No, I think you bring it up. There's a lot of water. Most of it, you really have to do something pretty bad to go. I think a lot of it is more scenic than anything. There are some water hazards, but for the most part, unless you take a really aggressive line, you can avoid a lot of it. I do think longer irons, something to look at. A lot of these guys choose to take the best part of the fairway. As you get to 300 plus, it narrows a little bit. I think you'll see some people, be slightly conservative off the tee, slightly longer iron shots in, because you can handle it here. It's not daunting around the greens. You're going to have to make your putts. I think it's just a classic non-major type event where 20 to 25 under could be the winner.
Yeah, I mean, Matt Wilf went scuba diving in this place a while back, and yeah, I think that's kind of the right way to look at this. This is going to be a birdie fest. I think more so than other weeks, this is a play your dudes kind of tournament too, especially because our dudes kind of do the same thing. Like, enjoy this tournament. This isn't, the money still spends the same. You still got $200K to first and the $15. You still got a ton of tournaments out there for the taking over on DK and FanDuel if you want to be playing over there a little bit. I won't be this week, but I definitely think play some of these guys that just hit long irons well. guys who hit irons well in general. Strokes gained approach, big part of the process this week. And of course, just raw putting minus Emiliano Grillo.
I got some bad putters in the pool this week. Let me tell you, there's some real goblins. But you know what? It's tough.
You say goblins?
Yeah, goblins, whatever. That's one of my many expressions. We're
Never
going to
heard
flip the
that
putters.
from you.
We are going to need to flip the putters, chat. I'm telling you right now. We need some revert. I'm not going to get to Kyle Stanley right now or Luke List or many other players. We're going to start, as we always do, in the top tier. We've got DJ. We've got Reed. We've got your boy Usti. We've got Tony Finau. Best players in the field, some of the best players in the world. Do you see a gap between DJ and everybody else? That's my first question. And kind of where are you drawn to north of 10K?
Well, this is kind of the month where he starts to get going, right? Like he starts humdinging before the FedEx Cup, maybe goes on another one of his heaters like he had last year. Of course, he's kind of the class of the field, does everything well, has done everything well. He's won how many consecutive years now? The guy's got the highest win equity. I don't think that there's any question that he should. He's that good of a player. Driving accuracy a little bit off the map here, but I mean, he can bomb it out there. He's also a good putter when he gets a rolling. Like, I have no problem. Across the board, just grades out really, really well for me. But he's going to grade out really, really well for everybody. And he's the most popular player in the field right now. That's kind of where I'm lighter on him, just slightly, is I don't want to be at the field or, jamming Dustin Johnson in this spot where I think it's a little bit more wide open. And, he is one of those guys super capable. Like, there's certain top players that play well in majors, if that's a Brooks, or there's certain guys that play other, like in different tournaments. But DJ always feels like a dude that if you need somebody to just go low for 72 holes, he's absolutely capable of being that guy here. I'm just going to be a little bit lighter because of the ownership.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we need to spend a ton of time on Dustin Johnson. He's the favorite. He should be. You want, it's a pretty aggressive full fade. I think that would be misguided.
Yep.
He's in my pool. I'm not getting extreme leverage with him because I like other players. DJ's shown that he can take a weak field and blow them away. We've seen that. St. Jude's come to mind, several other events. He also could come in 19th, just like any other top end guy. And you're going to have win equity dispersed up and down the entire salaries if he doesn't win. I like Tony Finau. I know speaking of not winning, I'm not going to rehash everything, how close he's been so many times. 15th at the Open, I was pretty encouraged. Certainly had a chance here in 2020, various degrees of giving it away, but he did gain 10 strokes on the approach. This seems like a good course for him, and I don't think he's getting a ton of buzz. Now, 10-7's pretty premium, but there's a lot of value in this field. I feel very comfortable starting with Finau. Reed is the one that I want to kind of ask if you have a take, because he's coming off a miscut. Coming off miscuts seemingly are a catalyst for him to pick his game up. He's done that several times this year. Where do you stand on him after a disappointing major?
So I'll say Finau's my second highest owned player this week. Yeah. So I like that we're on the same board with him before we move on. But I'm pretty high on Patrick Reed as well. I know that you've talked about him being a guy that people don't like to roster because of him being the Captain America or the anti-Captain America in regular events, it would seem. Definitely not the most popular dude on planet Earth, but another guy who can just roll the rock when he gets it going. Generally going to be better, I think, on some of these golf courses where it just comes down to approach. I don't have to be worrying about him driving it all over the lot or anything. Hits it out there fine. Like, he's one of the shorter dudes out of that grouping up in the upper 10Ks, but on a golf course where I don't think that's really going to matter that much. I think this plays into Patrick Reed's golf game a little bit. And just the class of player comparatively to everybody else. I think once you fall below Patrick Reed, I mean, we can kind of poke holes in just about every other player salary-wise on the board. We can have some kind of a reason to not be there. I think Patrick Reed, just the class of player that he is, and if he's not going to be getting over 20% ownership, that's the same way I feel about Finau, where he's under 20% ownership. I would rather be way over the field on them because of how much better of players they are long-term over just a many-year sample size compared to everybody else down here, like Tringali at 9,500 or Cameron Davis at 9,200. I just don't trust that nearly as much as I do Reed in a 1 week sample size.
Yeah, I mean, listen, when you're playing Patrick Reed north of 10K, you're not looking for a made cut, of course, but I will say that Reed hasn't missed consecutive cuts on the PGA Tour since 2018. He's a guy that rarely loses form and has a string of bad results. Like I said, a couple missed cuts this year. Valspar miscut, followed it up with a 6th at Wells Fargo. Charles Schwab miscut, followed it up with a 5th at Memorial. So he seems to rebound. I don't mind him. Prefer Finau, though, of the top tier guys. We had a good week to leave decent amount of salary on the table. I agree with that. I don't think you want to go crazy, but in a field like this with so many guys in the lower ranges, you can be very creative where you build. Are you on that wavelength as well?
Yep, absolutely. And I usually feel that way on small field events. I think Detroit, we had talked quite a bit where my hot take was fading all 5 of the guys who are 10K or above. And, Bryson misses the cut. The other 4 don't finish in the top 20. It was a glorious week.
The same, because we've already done this, Chad.
We've done this tournament. Just play the tape. Play the tape. We can go actual golfing.
Time is a flat circle.
Oh, okay.
All right. 9K range. Sergio, we've got at 9,900 Wolf. That's going to be an interesting one. Tringale, Grillo, Cam Davis, and Bubba and Bobby Mack, who seemingly always makes the cut in majors. But I want to start actually with Wolf. What do? You seem to have a better pulse on him than me. He's extremely volatile. We know clearly at this course and in this setup, he can score. He's the winner in 2019. Where do you fall with Wolf this week?
Yeah, I played him at the US Open. I had the pulse on him right 1 week. It was amazing to get him right one time. Hey, he comes back to Southern California. He does what he was doing, like murdering me by a million and playing Torrey Pines well. But I think that it's a golf course that he's obviously had success at. I think there was another, I don't remember exactly where I heard this from, but I think he's a guy that I think he probably didn't go to Britain for a lot of reasons for the British Open. So whether or not it's him not wanting to deal with COVID protocols or whatever, I think he's also a guy who's just kind of been fighting some demons in the last couple of years. And why not stay comfortable? Why not stay over in the States? Why put yourself through a golf course that you would expect it to be much more difficult than what it played for sure? I don't think it's like him basically giving up on himself or saying that he wasn't capable of putting together some good golf that would have been capable of competing in a British Open. I just look at it as him taking care of himself. Like, I think that that's kind of an underrated part of talking about golf is you could play golf every single week. You could be Sung J M if you wanted to be Sung J M. But at a certain point, you've only got so many really good rounds in you over the course of the year. It's a grind. Playing 72 holes a day, go out and do it yourself. Let me know how it goes. I mean, you're working out in the mornings. You're putting in a bunch of time. I just don't think he wanted to deal with all the travel. And maybe if he didn't feel like he's got his game completely there, this is a place where he could definitely get right. So I have no problem rostering him here. Not to go down too many walks of narrative street, but I don't have the same apprehension some people might worrying about why he didn't go over for the British Open. But yeah, Matthew Wolff, the previous champ here, no problem going that direction. Other than the miscut at the Travelers, he was okay at the Rocket Mortgage besides the putter. That was his last tournament out here over the 4th of July. So let's fire up a little bit of Wolff this week.
I mean, when you're talking big time, large field GPPs, this guy, I've said he's in a category where I think you could pretty much roster him indefinitely, even when he's playing bad, because he can just turn it on. The problem is that I think his miscut equity is going to be significantly higher than everyone in his range for the foreseeable future. So it's more risk, potentially more reward. I like Sergio as more stability. He's coming in 19th at the Open, 19th at the US Open, 20th at the Charles Schwab, played a little more in Europe and made another cut. So 4 straight made cuts, leans on the driver. One of the many. Let's get it started. Can he flip the putter? He is just one of those guys who has done absolutely nothing with the flat stick. But at the same time, man, you've talked about it. I've talked about it. Everyone's talked about it. You don't putt until you putt. I'm not saying Sergio's going to become Usti, but I am saying that it's possible for him to have positive strokes gained putting for 4 days.
You don't putt until you putt.
I want to say this real quick. I brought this up a couple of times, but it's worth repeating. Sergio won at Sanderson Farms November of 2020, and he gained 2.8 strokes putting that week. He had lost in 9 consecutive events putting leading up to that. It can flip, and when it does, these guys tend to have a really good showing.
and it's such a volatile thing too. We're such fickle mental human beings, us golfers. We're grinding. We're looking for the one thing, but once that one thing starts working, you just believe it. And there's a mindset to it. And there's, it's an unexplainable force of the universe. And obviously Louis been this good here for a while. Sergio, we've seen moments where it's been pretty good. As he said, if he can flip that part of it, there's no denying how capable he is with an iron, just outclassing a field any given week.
Other than Sergio, like I said, he's someone I don't mind going balance with. What do you do with the lower nines? You've got Bubba, you've got Cam Davis, you've got Bobby Mack, Griot. Floor is yours. Are any of these guys stick out? Do any of them seem like fades to you? This
is my fade range, I think.
Okay.
Other than just because he's just like coming alive now. Bobby Mack at 9K. This dude might be pretty good. And I mean, I've been playing him in some Euro stuff a couple of years, like 2 years ago, 3 years ago. He had a couple of wins. He was just like competing right out of the gate. He's just a lefty slapper. Nothing about him like impresses you that much, but gets the ball in the hole in few strokes. How about that for analysis? So Bobby Mack here, T18 at the Scottish, T8 at the Open. Again, I don't know how much correlation that has to this golf course, but 14 to 15 cuts made. He feels like a pretty safe dude to be rostering down there. British Masters might be a more equivalent of what we're dealing with here. Over in Europe here, T8 there this year, T49 at the PGA. Last time he missed a cut was the Players Championship. And if you want to start digging into the Florida narrative, not really my thing, looking at TPC Sawgrass amongst all the TPC courses that we could compare this one to.
Bobby Mack, listen, like him, but I will say this, most of his success come in Europe. He's played in very, very strong fields, made some cuts. Now he's pretty expensive in a PGA Tour field, and we haven't seen this a ton. Now he could be Higo, and he just hits the ground running, and we see him here every week. I also think there's a real chance he's one of the many guys that are going to try to come over and struggle a little bit. I bet Sergio head-to-head against him in the betting markets this week. I got that at -115. I feel pretty good about it. It's nothing against Bobby Mack. I'm just interested to see what he does week in and week out at some standard tournaments, not WGCs, not majors, and not on European soil.
Not to reverse engineer it a little bit here too, but the PGA DFS Pro plays, definitely be checking those out. Yes. Might have done a little bit of cheating and saw that the boss man, one Alex Baker, had him as like number 22 on his board as well. Cause I was getting to around, 10%, 12% of him. Gave him a little bit of a boost after I saw that the boss man was on him too. If you have Awesemo Plus, that's an easy way to get behind the paywall to be able to see what the best player in the world is putting into his lineups. Cause it makes me feel a little bit more comfortable about Bobby Mack coming over. I'd say he'd be another dude that I'm just kind of like surprised is here playing this golf tournament.
I'm surprised. And I just, the thing about it is I still think a lot of people maybe conceptually think Bobby Mack, oh, he's making cuts, he's doing things. He's the 11th most expensive player on DraftKings. Like he's not, just find the weekend style like he is in majors. This is, you better show up and do some things because the opportunity cost is, possibly another 9K player. So for me, that's a little much. Certainly trying to get his tour card, and he may very well do it. I'm a big fan of his. He's a lefty. I respect the lefties. But I want to keep going here because Ricky Fowler is right below him, who is just impossible to talk about at this point. And this transitioned us to make the cut because Ricky belongs in that section these days. He did close with a really good Sunday. I'll give him credit at the Open. He looked great. But we've seen this from Ricky. He looks great for flashes, for stretches. Can he look great for 72 holes?
Why are you being that harsh on him for
me?
Yeah, you.
I had more pictures behind me until I had to sell them because of Ricky. So people wonder where the owl is. He's probably at a pawn shop. No respect.
Oh my God.
Ricky.
Get a GoFundMe page going or something. Get over it. You're fine. How'd the ponies go, by the way, last weekend?
Actually, okay. I mean,
okay.
Better than I thought they would, but the golf went worse, so it balanced out. But yeah, I did actually pretty good at Saratoga. So there's that.
I'm encouraged by Ricky Fowler's final round. Maybe it's just the fact that I had a ton of the man and it salvaged some stuff, just 53rd, didn't win me anything, obviously, but getting him through the cut, getting a decent enough finish there on Sunday to kind of salvage it after Saturday. I feel really good about Ricky Fowler. I think him going over there in a major, I wasn't expecting a PGA. Like, I mean, I did call him as a guy that you needed to bet to win, so don't get me wrong there. But 8th at the PGA, 11th at the Memorial. I mean, we had started to see some form. I think he got a little caught up on the weekend, and I'm going to just write it off as a one-off here as well. Sure, he also missed a cut here of late at the Travelers. Travelers, kind of a weird tournament for him in general. Rocket Mortgage 32nd and looked like everything was fine. Again, the putter has seemed like it's flipped, and we don't have any of the strokes gain data from the Open, but from all intents and purposes, 0.8 strokes gain total. I think he was fine. I'm happy in a weaker field to be taking some shots here.
I am with you. I am ultimately, Ricky's certainly in the pool and he's in some important lineups for me. I think it's partly devoid of a weak range. I don't like the guys right below him. I'm indifferent on Keegan. I want to ask your thoughts on Patton Kizzire, who's a great putter, but he is a water ball magnet. He always finds the water. Maverick is in the mid-8s. I think that's an interesting name. We know he can really putt. He's a guy you've talked about, really talented. Does anyone stand out amongst the upper kind of mid-range 8Ks?
So Patton Kizzire, I used to kind of be a mark for. I haven't been as much of a mark for him of late. And then he goes to the John Deere and just defies all odds. He lost 0.3 strokes gained approach and somehow still finished 11th at the John Deere, where all you do is target iron players. So what's up, what's down, what's left, what's right, I don't know anymore. So there's that with him. He's kind of an unexplainable cat. I'd say I'd put him in the JT Poston thing where I just like playing them because it seems like when they get in the mix, they get high finishes. The Byron Nelson, Charles Schwab, 2/3, followed by 3 straight missed cuts where all I did was shovel money into a bucket and throw it out my car door. So like Patton Kizzire, maybe do me right like one time this time around. I'm happy going there as well. Stuart Sink, not really going to be my guy here this time around either. Maverick McNeely, I talk about all the time, as you said. And I just like playing Maverick McNeely as well. If you beat Tiger Woods' scoring record at Stanford, you're probably pretty good at golf. So I'm going to just keep going with that.
Yeah, I have some Maverick, definitely some interest there. He's just a guy with an extreme talent for putting, and you need to make birdies. We know he can go low. Last guy, and then I'm going to move kind of to the lower ranges. One of the Euros that is over here is Lucas Hebert, who was getting a lot of buzz going into the Open, rightfully so because of that form. Now we see him again, kind of like Bobby Mack in the sense that he's normally only in majors when we're talking about him, but he gets a normal event here. I'm not on him, but are you?
No, I'm not. We got to talk about one guy down here. We're still in the bottom 8s, yes?
Yeah, I know I'm jumping around a little, but feel free.
No, Luke List. You are high on Luke List this week.
Yes, I am. He's someone.
God. What is wrong with you as a person?
I mean, that's a different show.
Are you doing this? So in the pro plays, what I'd love to do if you're a member here at Awesemo Plus, definitely head over there, play this game with me quick. Just group Ben's exposures, group Alex's exposures. Take a look. You can kind of see if somebody's going under, over owned. If we're all on a certain guy, we're all on Fino. We're all on Griot. Kyle Stanley. What is wrong with you as a person? Luke List. What is it about that Luke List that you were here for?
Well, let's see. How can I justify
chalky this? Luke List, like chalky-ish.
You know why? Because Luke List, so he's been playing like garbage.
Yeah, and then he put 2 weeks together, and now you're like going to play him at 12%.
Mega nuclear, not just put 2 weeks together. He gained 10.1 strokes tee to green at the John Deere. Then he gained 12.5 strokes tee to green at Barbasol. He didn't even have a spike putting week. He gained 0.1 strokes at the John Deere. He lost 2.3 strokes putting at Barbasol, and he still came in 5th. He has spoken that he was dealing with some health and personal issues off the course, and those seem to be righted. Could that be a coincidence of that has turned his game around, or could that be an actual catalyst? I have no idea. I do think it was worth mentioning, though. I see him in weak fields here. I see the form. The ball striking had been good throughout. It was just the putter was so bad. I'm going to bank on Luke List. I know he's not under the radar, but he's also not chalky to the point where I really have to do anything. I don't like Usti. I don't like some of the other top-end chalk, so I'm naturally leveraging a little bit already. I know you're not nearly as high on him as I am, but what do you think about him, or are you literally omitting him from the pool?
No, For me, it was just seeing the level to which that you liked Luke List.
Yeah,
It wasn't.
Yes.
It
One of my
was
favorite plays.
concerning.
Yeah, that's a
Okay.
fair word.
I almost feel like we've never talked about him, and to just see him on the board made me concerned and making sure that one, blink twice if you need me, but twice, like I don't know. Luke List, not exactly the dude that I was expecting to see kind of jumping to the top of your board, but I understand the recent form. If you want to just say last two tournaments, let's sign it up and go. That's fine by me. But the putter can be so atrocious that there aren't really words for it. And this is going to be a birdie fest. And sure, he was able to manage it in a super weak field. There's actually a little bit of class at the top end of this tournament. There's a decent enough 8K range. I don't know if I want to make Luke List a stand this week that I'm just gonna say he's gonna keep it going.
So talk to me about that then, because amongst Luke List, you have the South Africans and Dylan Fratelli in Charles. Those guys volatile in their own right. You have Gary Woodland, who's not playing good. Are you just saying I don't like this range in general, or are you saying I don't like Luke List because I like this specific pivot?
Oh, I love Dylan Fratelli this week.
Oh,
yeah, I'm absolutely here for the Dylan Fratelli.
Egregious. Go ahead. Yeah, that guy,
What?
real good. He's missed about 90% of his cuts, and then he randomly comes in like fifth. No respect.
I'm just calling you out. It's fun. Ownership. Can we talk about ownership? Dude gets fifth. He had some class at Texas, and if we're gonna randomly see it, yes, he has missed 1,000 cuts. It would seem, but there's no ownership going there. The dude just got fifth at the Open, and you want to talk about, have you done anything for me recently? How about a fifth at an Open championship? Put that next to your fifth at the Barbasol, Mr. Luke List. Like,
Seamus. Champion golfer of the year, Seamus Power. Get that out of here. Honestly, though, looking at someone like Dylan Fratelli, he had missed so many cuts in a row. He had missed 6 of 7 cuts. He comes in fifth. Do you think, being a golfer, because you would know this more than me, is it I know it's not just one or the other. There's a lot of gray here. Is it an outlier, or is it a catalyst that can translate to a course that's not going to resemble Royal St. George's whatsoever?
It's not, but I think he's just playing well. To see any kind of form from him, I just know the kind of potential that he had first jumping out on tour. And if we're going to get one glimpse of that, if we're going to see a fifth at the Open, this isn't Marcel Sim or something that I'm going to be rostering this week. It ain't that cat. So like, give me, I'm going to side a little bit. If we're going to just be playing the ownership game here, I'm happy to go to a sub. What is he right now? What is his last run of ownership? I haven't even looked at it here. I'm on a completely different page and wavelength. I'm thrown off by the Luke List thing. And then Dylan Fratelli right now coming in 6.4%. I would be shocked if he was that highly owned. I just would at 8,300. I don't think people are going to click on it more than likely, but sub 5% Dylan Fratelli, I'd be happy with. If I played like a 10% Dylan Fratelli, probably have to take away my car keys.
I mean, I don't think it's a mistake to have Fratelli in the pool or get slight leverage. I just don't know how you back a guy. And listen, List has his own problems, so it's not to say there's any safety in this range. I think Charles sets up fine, honestly, for stability. He's been striking well. He's been making cuts. His putter comes and goes, no doubt about it, but everything else looks pretty solid there. It's not a range for me that I love outside Luke List. I think I'm kind of just going down with the ship and hoping he can be around even strokes gained putting.
I'll do McNeely, and then we'll just kind of meet in the middle. And again, I'm not going nuts with Fratelli. It's just that I think he's going to be under 5%. Give me 10% of a dude who just got fifth at the Open Championship. If you just removed everything else from his previous game log, should we say, you would be rostering him, and like people would be flocking to him right here. And I don't know. It feels like for the class of player that we know he can be, that he was over in Europe there for a hot second. And I'm just happy to be going his direction again. It's been a long time, Dylan Fratelli.
I used to play that guy all the time. I like him. Good player, just very volatile. Chat, before we get to these upper 7K range, we got a lot of people in here for the 3M. I think more than the first time we did this show, which was the Rocket Mortgage, apparently. Hit that like button. We appreciate you guys helping us out. We've got a lot of big news. I'm going to talk about some of that news. We have a couple new YouTube channels. We're splitting some things up. We've got a new fantasy football channel and an Awesemo odds betting channel. They are going to be doing a ton of content. I will get you that information later in the show, but I did want to put it out there. And it's good to see a lot of you guys. I see a lot of familiar faces. I also see a couple new people in chat. So if it is your first time or one of your first times watching the show, we really do appreciate you stopping in and listening to me and Eric possibly go down with some of the worst golfers known to man. But as we keep this going, upper sevens, Doug Gim, Hank Lebioda, you want to talk about chalk, going to be really popular. Joel Dahman.
Happy about it. I'm not happy about it.
Talk to me about what you want. Talk specifically about Hank Lebioda. He's playing great. He's putting out of his mind. I don't think I can chase the chalk, though, nope. Even if it burns me.
Well, because I wasn't chasing the chalk before, and then I got burned so much, and then I was like, oh, I can't get on board. And then I got on board, and it was whatever. And the Travelers and the Rocket Mortgage worked out really well just because I felt like you had to. But I mean, 5.8 and 6.1 strokes game putting. I mean, I like rostering good putters. I obviously love Louis and going his way, but how can you keep this up? How can somebody keep doing this? Like, how does he do it? This is Jordan Spieth kind of crap, and I don't really like it. So 25% of him, let's just cool off a little bit 1 week. How about that? Get him at 17th, 18th. Because again, this is just mega chalk in this spot for this range. I'd rather just kind of go with the field go against the field, take the rest of the field around him and move on.
I also don't know if it's a given that Hank Lebioda is a good putter. Honestly, I know it seems like he is right now. What long term, there's nothing to indicate that he should, like, Hank Lebioda for a long stretch of his, what we've seen was actually a really good ball striker and losing strokes putting. He's clearly found something, but this is not, as you mentioned, Denny McCarthy, Spieth, like where they've just been great putters for a very long time. He's on a hell of a run. I just don't know in 2 years, if we're going to look back and say, wow, he had a stretch there where he was putting immaculate and now he's actually an average at best putter.
Well, I guess you bring up a great point because he has never exceeded 5 strokes gained putting up until the Valspar in his career as I'm looking through every single tournament. So starting from October 7th, 2018 at the Safeway, where he missed the cut with minus 5.8 strokes game putting, but that's beside the point. Going all the way up until this, just before this run, really. Well, actually, no, the Valspar was kind of the beginning of it, 5.7 strokes game putting. And then he's had 4 tournaments where he's gained more than 5 strokes putting since then. So you might be onto something there. I just kind of was giving him a pass thinking he was a good putter because I didn't really know what else he did well up until then. And I would guess the answer is not very much other than occasionally getting hot with the irons, which you can definitely see. 26th at this tournament in 2020 for what it's worth.
Yeah. And just to add to that, he lost 2 strokes putting that week. It was all with the irons.
Stupid.
So it's an interesting one. I like Doug Gim. I think he sets up well. Just avoid the big numbers like all these guys. He can make his putts, lean on the irons, lean on the long irons. That all suits his game. What else do you see in the mid sevens, though? Do you like Poston coming off a tournament that he should have won? Do you see Patrick Rogers? You've got Johnny Vegas, who drives the ball beautifully. Troy Merritt, Stricker, your lock button from a couple of weeks. So you're going to push it to the limit again. What do you do in the mid sevens?
Do we even bring up Lanto Griffin?
No, chat just did. And shout out to Matthew Jones. Thank you for that. Lanto makes a lot of sense in my mind.
That's the dude that I have a ton of in this range. So 7,700, I would be remiss to not talk about him going down the board, considering he's one of my highest exposed players on the entire week. He's in my top 10 for sure. Just a guy that I think is going to play well here on this golf course as well. Kind of just does a little bit of everything well here. And it just seems like, I don't know. I'm not getting a great gauge on ownership. It seems as though some of the guys that I think are going to come in a little bit higher owned, I just don't think Lanto Griffin is going to pop to the board above 10%. If that's going to be the case, I mean, strokes gained approach, that's kind of his forte, and putting, that's kind of his forte. So if we throw out the rest of the crap, that's the kind of guy you want to be rostering in this 7K range who fits the golf course well. It seems like, again, weather's not going to be an issue. Everything else, you can kind of throw it all else out the window. But when push comes to shove, I want ball strikers with irons and I want putters.
Yeah, I think Lanto makes a lot of sense. He lost his form there for a little bit. Ebbs and flows are going to come with a guy like this, but he's made 4 straight, looked good at the Open. I think he just gives you a solid performance. Got to ask about this guy before we move down, because normally I'm staunchly against players like this. Mito Pereira, the fellow Chilean on tour, he, didn't do much at Rocket Mortgage, made a cut at John Deere, looked good at the Barbasol. I know this is better than the Barbasol, but it's not that much better. You have any interest in a guy who was absolutely destroying the Korn Ferry Tour?
Yeah, I always do. And that's the same way I felt about Scotty Scheffler. If you win, you win. Like, he's got win equity at this range. So sure, I think you should have some shares. I'm not getting carried away with him because, again, I felt much higher on Scotty Scheffler than what I feel about him. But winning is winning. And the Korn Ferry Tour and this developmental tour, look at all the dudes that are coming out here now and just hitting the ground running. It's a really incredible batch of talent you have down here. So I'm happy to go his direction. I just think that it wouldn't shock me whatsoever to see him pop. He feels like an outright bet. I will say that he feels like an outright bet. Like, if you're going to get weird and go way off the board and try to get a guy, again, wins at multiple levels. This golf course sets up, like, I don't know, 90% of the Korn Ferry Tour golf courses, it feels like. So sign me up for somebody who's played this type of golf course really well.
I think that is a really sharp point. I've mentioned that before as well. I think these guys have a mentality that they have to score. And when you get in a course like this, they're more naturally at home, where some of these guys who play in the Open Championship, like Bobby Mack, maybe a little different mindset to go 25 under, but we will see. Obviously, the talent can carry them. Lower 7K range. We're going to talk about some other guys, but are you putting Kyle Stanley in the Luke List bucket of what is wrong with me, or do you see why I'm so high on him this week?
I get Kyle Stanley.
Okay.
Easy. It's just Luke List, because Luke List, I mean, he was supposed to be the chosen one for the people, and he just never did it for you. But it feels like Kyle Stanley off the tee. Like, sign me up for him and his form, because it's gone on for more than, 2 weeks. Seems like starting at the Valspar for him too. Since May, no missed cuts, nothing really crazy there. 54th, 41st, 41st at John Deere, Rocket Mortgage. None of that'll get you super excited. But you want to talk about putting? The guy is the worst putter on planet Earth. He might be the worst putter to be making 8 cuts in a row. I've never seen anything like this. Like, this is borderline. You should be out there putting for him.
I mean, I don't even think that part's a debate, but I don't think it's a debate of guys who are coming in making cuts. Kyle Stanley is in a league of his own putting. When you putt like that, he has lost strokes putting in 6 straight, in 10 of 11. The fact that he doesn't have missed cuts up and down the range speaks to how good his ball striking has been. He has gained in 6 straight tournaments off the tee and with the approach. So he's just gaining in both areas consistently. I know the putter is bad, but I don't care. He's cheap enough that eventually it's going to flip, and the ball striking is just absolutely phenomenal right now. So all systems go. Could be frustrating.
Should we just make like bad putting lineups and good putting lineups? Should we do that? Should we just have the Griot and Stanley teams and just party?
So I definitely do that. I will say I don't think it's a great idea to put all 6 of them like that, because the chances that Kyle Stanley and Griot and List and some other rando all flip the putter is so low. But having a couple, I think it's warranted, because these guys can really strike the ball well.
Okay. You're the one who groups the guys together and has gotten me to start doing that. I wish I grouped more iron players together last week. That would have gone well. That would have been an enjoyable week, but such is life.
I do want to talk about that really quickly, because as people may or may not know, like I was not even close. But when I looked at that leaderboard, I actually felt pretty good about it, because it made, like, you see Griot and you're like, how is he up there at the Open? Well, it wasn't windy. He's a pure ball striker. Morikawa is the best iron player in the world. He also was first in strokes gained putting. When you pair that, he's unstoppable. But it made sense. Those pieces, even Corey Connors, some of those guys, pure ball strikers. I wasn't super upset to see that, because without the win, that's what they should have got.
And you're taking the twitch out of their hands with the putter too. Colin Morikawa was banging putts into the back of the hole.
It was ridiculous.
They were just able to go out there and not worry about it, because also we talked about the slower green speeds. Yeah. So yeah, it was kind of a bad putter combination. Morikawa does a little bit of everything well. I won't go after him too much. He's incredible, but the putter definitely didn't feel comfortable for him before. You don't switch to a claw unless that's the case 99% of the time. So I think, yeah, it would have been something where if I had grouped a little bit more of that, it would have been a nice week, but Same thing as you. Same thing as you.
What about, speaking of guys that are incredibly tilting, EVR went to college in Minnesota. He's
won a national title at Minnesota.
Been playing pretty bad golf, but we know he's got some talent. Can you blindly back him even though the form is not cooperating?
Yep, totally can. I think just because, what's your opportunity cost of this range?
I mean, to me, it's minimal. Like in tournaments, it's non-existent because I think the winner could come from the mid sevens. Right. When you talk about guys like Ches, EVR, Stanley types, there's minimal opportunity cost in my mind.
I'm just a big believer. Maybe this is like the MLB DFS mind, where I think in the long run, investing in more guys and getting over the field on them as opposed to playing a Hank Rabiot at 25% or whatever number it ends up being this week, I think you're better off kind of diversifying the portfolio with multiple players in that range, getting over the field on him at whatever minute ownership he ends up at. And in the long term, I think that's just going to serve you more than it's not.
Anyone in the lower sevens before we talk about the cheapies, guys like Sam Ryder, Boho, Cameron Champ, who did look good last week, or are these, things that you're not really looking to dabble in?
So this cat keeps popping up for me all week, and I'm not sure really what to do with him because, again, he's just like all of these guys for the most part. They're just not going to be very good golfers, but he's also only made one cut in his last 6, I think. Sepp Straka.
Sounds like Dylan Fertelli.
Sounds like Sepp Straka a little bit. I don't know. He was somebody who was popping up earlier for me, and I have absolutely no idea why. So I wanted to just bring him up to you. The floor is all yours to talk about this abysmal play that I'm considering.
So I don't know exactly what to make of Sepp Straka. On a macro view, decent iron player, not a good scrambler. He's lost strokes on the approach in 8 of 10, and that's just not going to be. It kind of reminds me of JT Poston a little. If he can just hold it together, the rest of his game I actually like, and I think he's a pretty good player. I'm just not sure when that's going to happen. So for me, I would probably rather take like a Tom Lewis flyer, even a Cam Champ if I had to, rather than go to Sepp Straka this week.
Okay, that makes complete sense. It was just simply... It hasn't been very good there, but long-term form, it seemed like it was a little bit better with the irons perhaps. And around the green is definitely devalued on this golf course. So I wanted to at least bring him up. It would have been not right to do or to not do so for sure.
Any Pat Perez love for you? Chad's asking about him. I'm kind of indifferent. He's been putting really well, but not doing much else.
I'd rather play Bo Hassler for 200 more. How about that?
Okay. That's fair.
Give me a little Bo who, if this is the same week, let's just run back our exposures from the Travelers and see what happens.
Fair. Looking at, as we chat, we go down to the 6K range, the cheapies, and we talk about lineup construction when we do this. How low do you need to go? That's always a question. And do you see anyone in the 6K range that you're saying, I feel very I know comfortable is a relative word in golf. Where do you see like some possibilities to round out your lineups down here?
Bryce Garnett, I think at 6,700 is a dude that I'm willing to take some shots on. Keith Mitchell as well, just because we saw him at the Wells Fargo put up that decent showing until the Sunday alongside Rory in the 4th round, where the putter did kind of not cooperate with him again, cooperated the rest of that week. Keith Mitchell kind of feels like Luke List light, and you're getting him for a lot cheaper, but has been really, really abysmal of late. I mean, is this one of the worst 7K ranges you can ever remember?
It's pretty weak.
Not the worst, but I mean, no. Russell Knox should be the first guy that I had brought up because at least you get some of the ball striking with him, but I don't have a lot of love sub 7K this week.
I don't have a ton of love either. I think there's a couple guys that are worthy of bringing up. I mean, Ben Yan, I always bring up. He did make a cut last week. The guy I want to ask you specifically about, it's an interesting one. A winner on tour, non-existent, lost his form completely. He has now made 4 straight cuts. It's Kevin Tway. He gained across the board at Barbasol. He's coming in with basically 3 straight top 25s. He's 6,600. It seems like he's found his game once again after basically a year of being irrelevant. He
was a stick at Oklahoma State. It looks like, last 4 going across. His last 3 for sure. There's some definite form there. 14th, 23rd, 26th, his last 3. I would say the approach is still pretty weak. Around the green is kind of his forte, and that's going to be basically meh here. But I guess you could say that about the John Deere as well. He was flat there, but gaining putting. I have no problem going to him as well. I mean, as long as the ownership isn't there, I have no problem going to just about anybody down here to kind of mix out if you're playing 150. It's just hard to figure out how to prioritize any one of these dudes because it does feel like picking and choosing spots. If I had to pick one other guy that I'd really want to be going, well, Kevin Tway is actually a really good call just in comparison to everybody else down here. But something about Vegas, just Camilo Villegas just feels like it's going to pop here at some point. Last three started to make some cuts here, 67, 41st, 53rd. We saw him earlier in the season, like at the Valspar 11th, Valero 17th. In a weaker field event, 6,700. Just a guy I like to cheer for as well in my lineups. Terrible analysis, I know. Not a very good putter as well, but approach, he can get it done there in that regard. Feels like he plays well in these weaker field events. So maybe going a little bit his way too.
He's in the, listen, I like to categorize my plays, and not to say, again, I want to reiterate, I don't group 6 guys like this, but I have a list of good ball strikers who can't putt. Jagus is on there. Jason Duffner is on there. He's been playing a little better lately. Really crisp tee to green in 2 straight. Putter's been bad, though, really bad for a long time. So can he do it? He's shown at John Deere plus 10.3, Barbasol plus 6.4. You're going to need something with the putter. But again, you're in the range of make a cut. Make a cut. And you can do that even without putting. I don't know what else. Satoshi I looked at. I mean, but I don't think you need to go down here because, as you mentioned, I don't plan to double up north of 10K all that much.
You could have the I want to cheer for him lineup with Harry Higgs if you wanted to do that as well. Just social media presence. If you cashed a ticket with him, I'm sure he'd probably like send you drink money on Venmo. He's that kind of a dude. So maybe put him in the pool for a nice 1 or 2%. But otherwise, I'm not seeing a ton of it here. Norman Zhang, we just what is going on over here? I mean, it's one of those ranges. Somebody DM'd me earlier to ask about Sung Kang, and I just started laughing. I was like, I can't believe I'm attached to this dude because I brought up his calves one time. They were stalwarts in life, but whatever. The rest of this range is just so difficult to pick and choose spots. So you can tell me here. I'm not getting too crazy, and I'm not going to advocate for getting too crazy. It's just like if you're playing in the 150 max stuff and you need some punts. Those are a couple to kind of be looking at.
Yeah. Chad's bringing up some names. Like I said, I'm not going to have an opinion on any of these guys. If you have a line on one of them, you can sprinkle, but I think it's unnecessary. Wes Roach is someone, he's made 7 straight cuts, but he's not getting you any placement points. And when you're talking about beating 100,000 people, I know 6 of 6 is always the goal, but you need more than 6 of 6 to really win those top end prizes. And unless Wes Roach can start cashing top 30, top 40 tickets instead of coming in 65th every week, I don't really see the need. And that assumes he makes the cut. It's not like it's a given because it's certainly not. So on that note, a couple minutes left here. I'm going to circle back before we get to the hot takes. I mentioned this before, chat. I just want to make sure you guys are aware. We have done some exciting things in recent weeks, and it's just a shout out to the whole team. Not everyone you see on camera, too. The people behind the scenes at Awesemo are unsung heroes. They're just amazing at what they do, not just producers like Jordan Klein, who is certainly just a baller, but everyone who's made it happen. We have the Awesemo Odds Sports Betting YouTube channel. You can go and subscribe to that. Please help us out. We're putting a ton of content over there. And we've got our normal channels. You guys are here, and we appreciate that. And then Lofty and the whole team, Awesemo Fantasy Football channel, ton of breakdowns, ADPs, tools, all the same stuff you see on the DFS side. We're just expanding it to sports betting and to fantasy football season long. So go give those channels a shout out. The description of this video has the links. So after you're done, feel free to check that out. As Jordan puts it on the screen, you're going to be seeing a lot of me over there, a lot of Eric, and a lot of the whole team. So really exciting stuff here. And I can't wait to expand because DFS is great. Love it. We're going to continue to show and provide value there, but there's also the betting aspect of these tournaments. And we certainly want to make sure as more states come on board that you have the best information that you need here at Awesemo. So on that note, no better way to get to a hot take and maybe spit some fire on that betting card. Is there anything that you want to tell the people for the hot take for the 3M Open?
I saved this guy because we didn't even talk about him.
Oh, those are the best type of hot takes.
And you can go to my pro plays and know that I was not joking you. I was just kind of waiting for it. Was there somebody at the John Deere that I brought up that was going to play well at the John Deere who you were absolutely vehemently against with me?
So it is Stricker, isn't it? Because I mentioned
it's not Stricker.
Oh.
Not Stricker.
I was just saying
this guy was in the mix, like mix.
Oh, I know. I would bet multiple internal organs that it's Ryan Moore.
It is absolutely Ryan Moore.
That's so disturbing. You know why I didn't mention him? Because he's not worth mentioning. Go ahead.
66-1, 71. I don't know. We know the kind of player that he can be when he's right. And this feels like he maybe just kind of got right here recently. So Ryan Moore is I'm only taking long shots. This is kind of an entertainment week here. So my betting card consists of Ricky Fowler, 45-1. Could have found him there earlier in the week. 40-1 right now is where I'm looking at him as well. Ryan Moore, 66-1. Another guy that I really like. I think maybe I kind of talked myself into maybe a little Mito, but I can't probably pull the trigger on that for sure. I did pretty well on matchups. I had a bad DFS week at the British, but matchups still went decently enough for me here. I think I'm going to be going back to that direction. Somebody brought up Norman Zhang there in the chat, plus 300 up against Scott Stallings. That seems like something I might want to pull the trigger on here as well, just for some fun. But I don't really have a whole lot on the betting card here. It feels like a nice, relaxed week. I'm going to go a little bit heavier DFS and not go a little too nuts on the betting card side. But the one guy that I put a nice little coin down on was Ryan Moore. I think he can get in the mix this week. Hot take, top 5.
It's a hot take, chat. That's what this segment is about, and I respect it. So I'm going to give neither of these are really hot takes because I'll be honest, I don't have anything too crazy to say. Like I could look to Benny on if you got a good number on a top 5 or a top 10. I think that Tony Finau is going to win the tournament, but I want to be clear. I didn't bet him because I couldn't find the right number. He's like 16-1, 18-1. That's not good enough. So although I do think that he's very live to win this tournament, it's all about the odds. So I like him in DFS a lot. I didn't get exposure in the betting markets, even though I think he's live to win the tournament. My favorite bet of the week, though, if you are looking for matchups, is your boy Ricky Fowler is minus 130 against Richie Werenski. I really think that's overblown. Yeah, what is right? To me, that is a spot worth attacking. I know Ricky hasn't been playing great, but to me, he's still a better player than a guy like Richie Werenski, and minus 130 is not enough. So that is one that
How is that a thing? Richie Werenski, I'm looking at my book, 80-1 right now. 80-1. Oh, cool. So my mom's watching the show right now. She just wanted to remind everybody that my mom had her biggest DraftKings win of the British Open, and she outperformed me by her $1 $5 lineup, just thrashed my entire week.
Well, just now that we're on that, shout out to Mama B-Raz as well, who I've convinced her to sign up and play a little. She's been playing Aaron Wise and learning how that experience goes. But she's had some good lineups, better than mine, which is certainly humiliating, but I guess it's in the genes. But I do want to say, chat, Ricky Fowler over Richie Werenski to me is a solid bet. I know Ricky does suck, as chat just pointed out, but you know what? In a matchup, it's binary. He just needs to be better than the other guys, and I think he can do that. I backed him. That's my favorite bet of the week. So we've got that. On that note, chat, we've done it. Yeah, you know what? Well, next week we'll bring the hot takes from the family. We'll get everyone rounded up and see what we can do for the Olympics, because we've got Olympics golf next week. Stay tuned. Certainly the schedule could be a little wonky because it's in Tokyo, but we will have you guys covered. And if you have any questions, as always, get inside the ropes at Awesemo. Eric, myself, the whole team, we would be super excited to have you there. We're having a great time. On your way out, hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and give us a follow at Eric Lindquist, at JazzRazDFS. You guys know the drill. Good luck this week at the 3M. We'll see you next week for some Olympic golf from Tokyo.
Ooh. That golf course kind of looks sick, though.
It's going to be pretty wild. I'm actually really excited for it.
I am too.